Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 15 of Verdicts of the Ancient Kings. I am Crota, and alongside me is Nico. Nico, how are you doing today?
Good, Crota. I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving and everyone else that's listening.
Yeah, I think all of us, our Thanksgiving, I'm just going to jump straight in. I think all of our Thanksgiving would have been better if we had a release date for Chronicles of Entrath Chapter
Yeah,
2. And it feels like we've just been waiting and waiting and waiting.
maybe tomorrow.
Normally they do their big announcements on Wednesday. Like I think a Hero Fall announcement was on a Wednesday as well. So I don't know. Tomorrow might be some sort of Gax Mercenary, and then Wednesday will be Hero Fall. Is my best guess at this point.
Did you see though that there was a announcement by Corey today saying he's really excited about the news for tomorrow?
I did not see that. I only saw
Ah,
Corey's announcement about Brozai, which says that we do have a lot to go over in this particular episode. So many spoilers, so many mercenaries, so much PVE goodness to jump straight into. But let's first go into the puzzle results for the past week. And just as a little bit of an update, I do not have an endless supply of mercenaries to hand out, and because of that, we'll probably be giving away probably one mercenary a week, followed by Hex Convocation 2016 codes that have a chance for sleeves as the runner-up prizes, just so that we can stretch it out and until I start getting in my backfill. So, Nico, why don't you go ahead and take it away? You know much more about the puzzle than I do.
all right. So this puzzle again brought to you by Eul and our guild. I think we got one more from him this week, and then we'll switch it up next week. The puzzle showed that All in the Family was activated. There were 5 enemy troops in play, and they all had invincible. You had exactly 2 troops on play. One was a 4/4 profane ritualist, and one was a scrapyard bruiser. You also only had one resource left, and you had those 3 blank cards in your hand. And what were those cards? Well, the intended solution, I'll explain 2 of the alternate ones that we received, was to have a Mind Call, a Transmogrifade, and a Zygmunt's Game. And basically, the play order is you play a Mind Call, you make your other 2 cards 0 cost, you play a Transmog on any of the enemy troops, and I think one of their responses was the best troop to put it on is a Spearcliff Pegasus because there are more 2-drop created troops than any other cost. So if you hit one of those 2-drop created troops, it'll immediately have 0 defense, and it'll go directly in the crypt, making your Profane Ritualist a 5/5. And then you play Zygmunt's Game, and you play it, and the way you want it to resolve, if Kismet is in your favor, is you want the first to proc on your Scrapyard Bruiser, and that will kill your Scrapyard Bruiser, make your Profane Ritualist a 6/6, and put that copied Zygmunt's Game back in your hand. And then you want that second copy to hit any one of the enemy troops. Then when you play the Zygmunt's Game again, you want it to hit the Scrapyard Dynamo that the Scrapyard Bruiser creates, and you can then tell that you will be able to cast that Zygmunt's Game another time after that. So it'll wipe the entire enemy board. It'll leave you with an 11/11 Profane Ritualist, and then you attack for 11. And that's the solution we're hoping you came up with. The alternate solutions that a few people came up with, one interesting one was what you do is you play a Suppressive Fire, and that is a Ruby copied card, and you target all of the flyers,
Mm-hmm.
leaving the Deathless Guardian back. And then you attack with the Profane Ritualist, and after no blocks are declared, you transmogrify it and you turn it into a Reginald Lancashire. And then the enemy draws a Reginald Lancashire. That was a pretty cool solution. And the final solution that was also pretty neat is the Zygmunt's Game is instead a Seeing Red, and you transmogrify the enemy angel, and it turns into the 4-cost guard that has shift, and it does like 6 damage to them at the beginning of their turn. And if you double cast Seeing Red on that at the beginning of their turn, they'll take 12 damage and die. So those are the three pretty neat solutions that were submitted. We had 7 people get it right. There were, I think, 9 or 10 applicants. So out of those 7, you can see the winners below: Saucy Monkey, and then the runner-ups are Wasteland and Beauregard. So congrats to all 3 of you guys.
All right, so Saucy Monkey, Wastelands, Vorengard, you guys will be getting your codes in the mail. I know that I know that there is no copying and pasting in the in-game client mail, so you guys will let me know if actually just forward me the emails, Nico, and then I will email them back so that they can actually copy and paste because it's very hard to type out that code and not
Oh yeah,
make
sure.
yeah. So we'll make that a little bit easier. Saucy Monkey, you'll probably be getting a random between the Brozai Book, the Gax, and the Portentio. We do know what the Brozai Book is. One of us knows what the one of the Gaxes, and that's not me, as Nico laughs in the background. He's laughing at my misery. And the Portentio, I still don't know. But let's go ahead and move right along to this past week's updates. There's been a number of changes to the graphical user interface regarding packs and chests, and I think this is one of those quality of life improvements that everyone has been waiting for. What's your take on this?
I really like it. While I'm trying to forward you some emails, I think it's really nicely done, just from the UI perspective. And I mean, honestly, for anyone that likes to roll chests, it gives you the ability to roll them a little bit quicker, which is nice
Mm-hmm.
because you do not have to go ahead and do the opening animation that takes forever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it'll be a great addition to the game.
Yeah, I think at one point I had like a backlog of 150 common chests to open, and people found ways to get to the chest section, and they'd be opening chests in between rounds, and it just seemed like a very very kludgy way. So very glad to see that there is multiple ways to open chests, being able to open up 10 chests at a time, and I don't know, there's just a little bit more goodies involved. When you open up one common chest, you're just like, oh, okay, that's nice. But opening up 10, you actually feel like you have a chance of actually getting something good. And you kind of look forward to kind of like saving all of your presents on Christmas morning, and then opening them all up, throwing away the sweater that grandma gave you to get to, whatever else that you want to get to. So very, very glad to see this GUI update as we go on to the Sea of Mercenaries that were released over the past week. And Hawkor is I think Hawker was one of those mercenaries that actually came to me as a bit of a surprise. It seems extremely strong for a rather easy to achieve mercenary. What was your take on Hawkor?
Yeah, he seems really good. Super easy to acquire, like you mentioned, and he is perfect for any deck that you're hoping to abuse additional copies of equip cards with. Preferably one particular card that you really want to have more copies of. I guess the limiting factor is that you only can play 3
Hmm.
of any single card, but it's still really good for a common merce.
Yeah, he's really good. Also, being able to get some additional, I don't know, some additional chargers. There's lots of ways to get chargers, and being able to actually draw those as well. In a lot of PvE games, yeah, you may have 4 copies if you're lucky of an equipped card, but the chances of you actually drawing two or even 3 of them out of 40 cards is rather low. If you're moving them up 5 spaces, you have a fairly decent chance at getting them to show up in your hand a little bit more often, especially if you really really synergize. The fact that he has armor as well with 22 life, I can't find a downside to him at all.
Yeah, he really doesn't have one. Yeah, he's just super solid. Um, I don't know if he's going to end up being the best per se, but he has a lot of tools and he's so easy to acquire that I think we'll see him in a lot of players' parties.
Yeah, that additional +1 defense on 3 random troops is going to be helpful as well as we move on to Zarharax. I don't know how to say the name of all of the proper necrotic, but Midnight Shepherd or Rainbow Necrotic wanting one, if not 2 of every single threshold. What's your take on this shard madness here?
Oh, I'm a big fan of Midnight decks, and I like a lot of the abilities that he allows you to get just from his from hitting all five thresholds. I think this mercenary is going to be particularly good for people that were able to back the Kickstarter and have 4 copies of Lady Cassandra,
Hmm.
because Lady Cassandra just has amazing trinket equipment. In fact, you guys might see the spoiler for tomorrow, a pre-spoiler spoiler. I'm running Cassandra in the mercenary spoiler list. So this is not the only champion that makes good use of the midnight theme,
Hmm.
or the only mercenary that makes great use of the midnight theme. But what is nice about this is there's a trick to get around the deck building restriction that was shared by the Five Shards guy. I think it was Peace Tinker that shared this article and Mercenary originally, and that is to play 4 copies of Daramak, because Daramak would count for all of the shard colors.
Oh, that's great. Because as if you just have five, if you just have that, then he has one of every single color. I was just thinking of all of the, the multi-shard cards, but Daramak would instantly take care of that, and
Yeah,
then you'd be able to build around anything you really needed, even if you couldn't play the Daramak most of the time.
exactly. And one of the other exceptions that someone from the community suggested, and I think it might work as well, is if you play Starving Lich with its feat equipment. The feat equipment changes its 5 blood threshold requirement to midnight threshold requirement. So that might also complete the entire requirement for the deck building.
Oh, that's going to be interesting on the timing. I wonder if the developers had actually thought of using Starving Lich and doing it that way. Key thing to note I want to say is that mutual purpose is yeah, your troops in all zones have +2/+2. So great. And yeah, at first I thought it
Like an
was
extra prodigy of Vasilov, you could technically have 5 chains of that in play at a single time because of prodigy of Vasilov.
yeah. What's your take? What do you think is the easiest way to get all of your thresholds out like that? Do you think we're going to see a lot of just threshold fixing, a lot of dual shard colors? And is this really worth it to just have a random threshold at the start of as your party passive? Would you include it? Is the party passive strong enough to include, or do you think this, if someone is running Zarox in their quote unquote party, it's because they just have a really kick ass Zarax deck?
Hmm. The party passive at the start of the game gain a random threshold, or T random threshold, as it's said here, um, or trandom, however you want to pronounce that.
Maybe
Um,
maybe it stands for three random thresholds, right? Like triando.
I think it's just a typo, but
All
no,
right.
I think that party passive is actually quite strong. I would probably play it in like a quad, or I don't know how many party slots we're going to have initially, but if I wanted to run like all midnight decks, I would
Hmm.
definitely do that. Or if I wanted to run like a tricolor deck, I would immediately include Zarax in my party, because that extra threshold just makes it so much easier, especially, well, it is random, so you might want to do midnight themed, but it's just it's a pretty strong passive to have for particular deck building considerations.
Yeah. All right, moving right along, we move on to Slam Volt, which is, well, I'm just going to flat out say it. I was confused by Slam Volt. I had no idea how to use him. His basic ability is exhaust a troop you control. You have a 50% chance to lose a charge. And you're like, wait, why would you ever want to lose a charge? And then as you read it more and more, you're like, what is going on? So when you play a non-resource card, you have a 50% chance to gain a charge. At the start of your turn, if you have 3 or 4 charges, lose 1 health and draw a card. And if you have at the start of your turn, if you have 5 or more charges, you lose all charges. So he seems to be some sort of robot that works well at 2 to 3 charges. 4 charges, he starts to get a little bit steamy and can start damaging you, but you can draw more cards. And at 5, well, he shuts down, and you have to kind of cool him off and reset him. I like this thematically, but I have a hard time trying to figure out how to build a deck with him, but this is one of those things that it just seems fun to me.
Is his main charge power a 4 cost? I couldn't read it. It's too small.
No, no, that's basic 0,
Oh, it's 0. Oh my god.
right? Like you can't use the charges that's on him,
Oh man. Okay.
right? So I
That
thought
makes
that
it
was
difficult.
yeah, I thought that was the reason why you would do that, because if you every time you play a card, you play a non-resource card, you have a 50% chance to gain a charge. So you're gaining charges, and then sometimes you might want to purposely lose charges, but you're playing cards and thresholds, and you may want to actually have prisms in your decks because you don't want to gain a charge. So
Interesting. I wonder if we'll see other cards that consume your champion's charges.
yeah, like I think that's a 0, right? It looks like a basic 0.
Well, yeah. So someone in our chat earlier said it was 4, but I mean, it's too murky for me to make out. So if it is 0, that's bad. If it's 4, it's actually good, because the way I'd want to build him is actually build a charge themed deck, because every time you play a card, you're going to get more charges.
Mm-hmm.
So you could really go crazy with like a reactor bot or a gore master or something like that. You'll probably want it to be primarily artifacts as
Mm-hmm.
well, because of the 3 ability to play 3 of each artifact.
Mm-hmm.
And then just one thematic thing about Slam Bolt that I kind of related it to is I used to play a lot of League of Legends, and he reminds me of Rumble when Rumble overheats. Like,
Mm-hmm.
once you get to that point, like, oh, it's too late now. Like, I'm overheating. I got to lose all my charges and cool down. So anyway, I like the design, but I'm a little confused. If it is a 0 cost charge power, he's very high risk for what he provides, but you might be able to still get very explosive turns that are reliant on charges. And his party passive's okay. It's not too amazing. So you may not see a lot of people playing Slam Volt, depending upon what his charge actually costs.
Well, on the flip side, I could see decks that don't run a lot of artifacts just have 4 acorns, and your acorn has draw you card, gain a charge. So that
That
might,
would be good.
yep. So that would be one reason if you need those additional charges and you're going to be running acorns in your deck anyways. Slam Volt does solve both of those. We'll get back to you on that basic. I can't tell if that's a 4 or a 0. It looks like a 0 to me. So, well, we'll have to take a look at that a little bit later. But moving right along to Scab Tongue, sacrifice 2 artifacts with cost 5 or less. Summon a random non-plans artifact with cost equal or less than the combined cost. When a non-junk artifact you control is destroyed, summon Scrapyard Dynamo. First thing I'm going to notice when you go back to Slamvolt is that it is a circle. It's not a square.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
you're probably right about the cost then.
So that is why I thought it was a 0 cost ability, and you have to figure it out. So it's kind of high risk, high reward, as we were mentioning earlier. All right, so
Yeah.
what's your take on Scab Tongue?
Okay, so Scab Tongue, the most interesting thing about Scab Tongue is it gives you a great access to Ruby and Artifact. The only downside is you don't have access to plans or dwarfs. So that immediately cuts off a little bit of synergy with both Ruby and Artifact play, like War Machinist, which is very popular, or Construct Foreman. However, there are some very nice things about the charge power that allows you to create a random non-plans artifact that can be quite big. From what I've heard from other people, they really think that Scab Tongue is going to be extremely powerful. The ability to play 4 artifacts and 4 Ruby cards can immediately allow you to go into very competitive style decks, including like Frostring Arena Rangers deck. There's all sorts of stuff, and you have access to 4 Spectral Acorns, which is huge. So I think Scab Tongue is going to be a pretty competitive mercenary champion to play.
Yeah, mainly not because of his abilities, but because of his shard grid, right?
Exactly. Yeah, mainly his shard grid, but his abilities are not not anything to laugh at. I mean, they're pretty good. The destroy each opposing robot is huge for any encounter that is very robot heavy. So he'll be able to like solo encounters better than any other champion that are very specifically artifact geared or robot geared. So you'll probably want him in your party just for those kind of scenarios. It's probably the junkyard dungeon he'll be huge in.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the Junkyard Dungeon's going to work. Scab Tongue is, I don't know, he's going to be a gnoll taking on other gnolls. Maybe you're not allowed to use Scab Tongue in this. Well, I don't know. I don't know I wish there was backstory on each of these mercenaries so far. Like, why does Scab Tongue want to join you? Why does Count Davian? All of this. It seems like they could really flesh out the story and really build the universe of Entrath a little bit more for me as we now move on to Rakshanai, the Spite Blade. First things first, upgraded text. Your starting hand size is increased by 2. Unfortunately, we don't know what the starting hand size of a Rakshanai Spite Blade is to begin with. So we don't know if it goes from 6 to 8, 7 to 9.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we don't know. So it's just like, oh, wait. Right? Like, that's...
Yeah, I mean, if it was like a 9 hand size, or if you started with 8 and then you have 10 cards, like, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But if he starts at like 5 and you get 7, like, oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
But, I think, my default is like, oh, we're going to have 9 cards. But who knows what it's actually going to be.
Yep. Okay, so moving right along, we do have, and I'll look at Rakshanai, we have a charge power, which has the square 2, and then we also have a basic ability as well. So that basic ability, target troop in your hand gets tunneling plus X, where X is its cost. Put that troop underground. So you're obviously not going to be tunneling cards that already have tunneling, but it allows you to put those cards underground. And the fact that all cards in hands have cost plus 1 is meant so that you always want to be playing your troops through tunneling. I don't know how it's really going to work out. A lot of the times, if you want to be able to drop a 4-drop on turn 4, there's no real reason to tunnel a 4-drop on turn 2 and then have it come out on turn 6 with speed. It just seems kind of kludgy to me, and I'm not quite sure what to really make of this.
The only nice thing about that is, say you're playing a slow deck, or say you're playing a really fast deck, but the opposing champion has some kind of ability that says at the beginning of his turn, deal 1 or 2 damage to the opposing board. So tunneling could be a way to get around that and combo everything to have speed the turn it comes into play. I don't know how effective it'll be. And one of the other things I was thinking of when you were mentioning the square and circle text for the charges, I'm wondering if maybe the circle based costs are repeatable for every turn. So maybe that Slam Volt, you can keep using that power over and over again. Who knows? If that's the case, then Slam Volt would be extremely powerful. But if it means that if the circle and square have no actual meaning whatsoever, then Slam Volt's going to just be a lot harder to play. Anyway, I'm just wondering if the circle square stuff has any indication to how many times you can use it in a turn.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I know charge powers are only once per turn.
That's what I thought, yeah.
But I'm not sure about the circle powers because there is no precedence on it. The closest thing would probably be a mage's ability, and if you have enough spell power, you can use the same spell twice in a turn. Right.
That is true.
So
that is true
I'm trying to figure out if maybe it's like that. Maybe that's where that little ability is going to be. We're just grasping at straws right now to try and figure out all of this, and all of these questions are going to be answered sometime soon. We just don't know when.
Yeah. So just going back to Shani the Spite Blade. First of all, he's actually pretty hard to get as a mercenary. I think it was like set 2 chest rolls, and for some reason I had a super hard time getting one of him. Also, the all the cards in your hand have cost +1. I
Hmm.
don't know how good that's going to be. So
No,
I
it's all
think
cards in hands. So your opponent,
oh in hand. Oh, so but for both sides.
yes.
Interesting.
So the fact that you can tunnel your troops and your opponent can't could be one of those indicators that hey, I'm slightly faster. So say you have a 2 drop, right? You can tunnel it and it will come out on turn 4, or you can play it on turn 3 and it's ready on turn 4.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. I think that that might be good. There's a lot of tunnel troops you can play in both Blood and Wild, and he has pretty good access to both shard colors. The fact that you can't play Flight doesn't really matter,
Hmm.
but I think you will want to have some pretty decent removal, knowing the fact that it's going to have a cost increase.
Yeah. All right, moving right along, we are going on to well, one of the 3 Gen Con mercenaries, Brozai Book. And Brozai Book, he got completely revamped from what was revealed on the back of his card, and right now upgraded text. At the start of your turn, if there are 20 or more Pipit counters on Brozai Book, summon 10 random troops, then remove all Pipit counters from Brozai Book. Pipit's gift. He has his charge power is create a random card that you meet the threshold requirements to play and put it into your hand. Anytime you play a non-resource card, add a Pipit counter to Bruzai Book. Then transform a random non-resource card in your hand into a random card of the same shard. It costs -1 for each Pipit counter on Brozai Book. Um, and this just is absolute madness. Key things I want to point out is that it's transform. It's not revert and transform.
Yeah,
So so cards can have a total cost of minus like 37, like right, like if you get the same card to transform more than
sure.
once, um, and yeah,
Or more than that if you're playing other cards that lower the cost of cards in your hand.
yeah, so if you have like Mind Call and you play a Mind Call, you can, you know, hit 2 cards in your hand, and also it doesn't affect it. Like my I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Prophecy cards, if you can prophesize a card, it can say draw a card, right? But then
Yeah.
what happens if it's a draw a card, like the action like Thunderfield Seer, and then that card transforms from an action to a troop.
So if that happens, that transformation also changes the text. That's part of the transformation rules that were shared a while back.
Mm.
Basically, if a troop transforms into an action, it loses all the other benefits that the troop had
Okay.
when it turns into an action. But if a troop turns into a troop without
Hmm.
reverting, then those abilities stay on.
All right. But so what happens if an action turns into a troop?
Same thing. Any card going into a different category
Hmm.
loses those buffs. So like actions changing into troops lose it, troops changing into constants, so on and so forth.
Yeah. So if somehow you were able to prophesy a life drain troop and then it transforms into some sort of damage,
Yeah, it will not have
you
life
don't get
drain.
life drain on a crackling bolt or anything crazy like that.
No, it's
So
not a lightning helix from Magic.
all right, all right. No, we do not mention that game on
Oh,
in.
sorry, it's not a certain card from a certain game.
All right, but what's your take? I think the original Brozai book was if you had played 20 or more different named cards, you automatically win the game. And if
Basically,
yeah, and
yeah. So I think I don't know if you shared both of the builds I sent you, but I actually
oh, well,
on
let's
stream
let's look
today.
at the builds. I have both builds up. Let's go ahead and look at Merc build number 1. It looks like it is Wild and Diamond.
Okay, yeah. So my idea with Broski Buck, and I think it'll be a fun one, is play cards that generate Valor. Valor is a colorless action,
Hmm.
and if those Valors are targeted by Broski Buck's randomness, they get turned into some really cool things. Maybe even toxins, into artifacts, into um, Twin Eternities. Like, say you get a Twin Eternities when you already have 6 charges on Broski Buck. It's a 3 cost Twin Eternities. That could be pretty cool. So if you're generating a bunch of Valors in your hand, you are creating more cards in your deck, basically. And then every time you play those cards, you're getting closer to that 20. So it's easier to get to that upgrade tech. So this first deck here just focuses on Valor creation. It also has a lot of cards that create additional cards. So some of the things that are not mentioned in this deck are what are the sockets for the cards that are being played with sockets.
Mm-hmm.
So on the stream, we figured, okay, Protectorate Defender is going to have the Major Wild Gem. So when he comes into play, he's going to create a random troop and put it into your hand that you meet the threshold requirements for.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to have the Ruin Ear Hierophant with -2 cost. So it's going to be a 1-cost Hierophant with Flight. So that'll be pretty fun to play. And then we're going to have the Ardent Crusader with Crush. So that'll be also fun. The Moonrise Elder, that is a 4-cost, would also have the -2 cost. So it's going to be a 2-cost card. And then both Illusion's Parades will have the troop creation. So each one will create 2 troops and put them into your hand. So I thought that would be a fun way to generate cards. We also have the Pro Sparrow. That's an expensive Kickstarter exclusive that has I think it's gloves. No, it's boot equipment that at the beginning of each turn you create a 2-cost +2/+2 action and put that into your hand. And then Cheesesmith has gloves equipment that when it comes into play, you create one of the cheeses and you put it into your hand. So all of this card creation and value creation is going to your hand. So you can keep playing cards, and Broski will keep turning cards in your hand into other cards and reducing the cost as quickly as possible.
Yeah, this is gonna be some really, really like you're gonna have your opening hand. You're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna play a diamond. I'm gonna play Glorious Pegasus, and now my Ardent Crusader turned into something else. Like
Yep.
it like you really cannot play. You really can't like plan anything. Brozai Book is just sitting off in the corner, eating on a shroomkin and laughing his head off as your hand is just constantly, morphing. And if you don't know what card I'm referencing, go ahead and extend your art on your Orochi Nukis. There's a picture of, Brozai eating a shroomkin and really, really enjoying it.
Yeah, the Pipit race is pretty cool.
All right. A quick question. Why not have like splash in a little bit of Ruby for the Valor Generation gem?
Well, let's look at the next deck. So I really think that there's 2 ways to go. Like you could either do this Wild Diamond tech, which I think would be pretty fun to play,
Mm-hmm.
or you can go Ruby Sapphire and really milk it by getting both the major Sapphire gems for random actions and then the minor Ruby gems for Valor creation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I sent you that second list that you just popped up now, and this one is more of a human theme, but we're also playing a lot of low-cost troops. The real kicker in this deck is Lord Bernard Pete Dunthrop. We're playing his chest equipment that says, when you deal combat damage to an opposing champion, draw a card. If that card is a socketed troop, that troop's cost is 0. So if you hit Azura Fate Sorceress with that, you can have an Azura Fate Sorceress with both Valor creation and a free action that's going to prophesize everything you play after it for free Valor and a free action. So that would be pretty fun to do. So yeah, that's what this deck's idea is around. We do have Crowd Roars to create more free cards and a bunch of other neat interactions. Someone on my stream mentioned Elusive Spectre, which I've never even thought about before, but it has Ardent Allegiance, pay 1 and bounce it to your hand. So we're going to put the minor socket of Valor on him. We can just keep bouncing him and creating more Valors. So a lot of fun interactions with this deck. Other ways to reduce card cost and other ways to draw cards. I think it could be pretty fun, and you can create a lot of random mess to keep playing.
All right, I want to see you beat every single dungeon with every single mercenary just to see, because you are coming up with some really, really crazy random wild decks that just seem absolutely fun and hysterical to try and play.
Oh my god, that's putting a big timestamp on my life.
And the fact that you first need to get enough gold to unlock
Oh
every
yeah.
mercenary, and then there's still mercenaries that are in the game that you have to earn, and then on top of that you have to beat you have to run a dungeon 3 times, beat the highlighted encounter of that dungeon with a mercenary so that you can even begin to unlock it. It seems like there's going to be just plenty of time sinks for any sort of PvE completionist out there.
Yeah, I mean, I might have to wait for the achievements because I need to drink to even think about that.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot to do and a lot to have fun with. And speaking of having a lot to have fun with, this past Friday they announced that we are going to be having Flashback Evo gauntlets. And for
No,
huh?
I know. I'm so excited. I'm like saving all my limited time for this weekend.
Yeah, and well, first of all, they said it was December. They didn't give a start date. They gave a start date, but they didn't give an end date. So it may be, it may be one of those things like, hey, you know what? People have been waiting for Adventure Zone 2 for so long, or Chronicles Adventure Chapter 2. We can't release it, but we'll give them a time sink in the Evo Gauntlet. And I really appreciate them doing an Evo Gauntlet for Shards of Fate and Shattered Destiny because one, the Evo Gauntlet did not exist when Shards of Fate and Shadow Destiny were originally released, and two, there are some crazy, crazy expensive commons and uncommons from these two particular
Definitely.
sets. So a lot of people out there who are like, I want a Righteous Paladin, I want a Crackling Bolt, I want a Chlorophilia, just to build their PvE decks, they can experiment with a little bit of PvP, and when you go ahead and run the Evo Gauntlet, I think with a pack of Shards of Fate and a pack of Shattered Destiny, you're going to be given a rare list pack of each as well. And normally you wouldn't care, but we're talking about Shards of Fate and Shattered Destiny here. So
More affiliate,
yeah, Chlorophilia, like, oh cool, I got a Chlorophilia and a Crackling
random
Bolt.
shards.
Yeah, or all the dual shards, right? Like
Yep,
the
all the dual shards.
all of those
So
cards. Yeah.
one, I was just gonna say, sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt, but one thing to note is because it's Evo and because we haven't seen it since set 3 and set 4, but in set 3 and set 4, we were able to buy one of the two packs
Hmm.
in mass. So we could enter the Evo with two set 4 packs or two set 3 packs.
Hmm.
So if they allow us to do that for the set 1 and set 2 Evos, it'll be better for you to just buy one stack of packs from a single set.
Hmm.
First of all, it'll increase your primal proc chance, at least hypothetically, and second of all, it will allow you to potentially. And I don't think they ever fix this, so this is kind of a pro tip. If you enter an Evo with two packs from the same set for a two set Evo, when it'll end up transforming one of your set packs into the other set pack. And when that happens, I don't think they ever fix this. When that happens, there is a chance that that transformed pack will proc a primal.
Hmm.
So just a pro tip, try it out before you end up buying a stack of each. Try to enter an Evo for Flashback with a single two packs from a single either set 1 or set 2.
Yeah, it's a 2% chance, but that 2% chance is worth like 19 plat, right? Like if you go onto the
Yeah.
auction house, it's you can see a hero fall packs going for 181 versus 200. So definitely try it out. I know that I did that with a couple Primal Dawn packs. And that's how I got a lot of I got some really great primals as well. So really looking forward to those Evo gauntlets. I have two Shards of Fate, I have two Shattered Destiny packs ready to go. I'm going to use both Shards of Fate for one and use both Shattered Destiny for another to see if I can proc the reversal.
Yeah, nice. I think I'm gonna have to buy a stack. I opened all my old set 1 and set 2s, not waiting for the future, but that's okay. I have the plat, so I'll buy some more packs and I'll give it a few runs.
All right. Moving right along, there was one card that I just happened to come across looking through the guild chat, and Mentor's Keepsake is another resource that I didn't know what to think of it. It's a 1/1. You gain a charge, and it also reduces the cost of a troop that shares a class with you in your hand. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, first off, it's really cool to get a PvE exclusive resource that's
Yeah.
rare. That's pretty awesome. I think it's going to be great for Inspire, and it has other value as well. And you're playing Wild. Rare Hierophant for 2, please. Thank you. There's so many cards that can make great use of this particular card, and especially cards that are in a single threshold that you wouldn't mind playing a turn earlier. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. Of course, we're not going to be able to utilize it for rogues or warlocks yet, but if there are any warriors, rangers, clerics, or mages that you really like, including some very powerful Inspire cards like a Highlands Magus, you already have feat equipment for it that reduces its cost to 1. Well, if you play a Mentor's Keepsake targeting it, you'll have a 0-cost Highlands Magus that you can immediately follow up with pretty much any other Inspire card you want, and it'll immediately get the benefit.
Yeah, that's looking really good. I was thinking more Azure Fate because, I don't know, Azure Fate seems to be the golden child. Yeah, in terms of any sort of inspiring. So really, really excited to see that. Also, moving along, I guess I'd had semi-challenged you to make a budget-minded PVE Frost Ring Arena deck, and you definitely did not disappoint. For those of you guys, or I know Nico that you're catching up right now, the PVE stars shifting is. It looks like a very interesting pile of cards that you don't know how it's going to work until you play it. And then it almost feels like you're just dropping Saruthu, Charge Colossus, Reaper Blots, and swinging for these crazy amounts of damage constantly because of Paradigm Shift and always being able to bounce your opponent's troops back into their hands.
Yeah, it almost feels like cheating a little bit. I don't know. Like I was playing a few different decks in Sapphire. I'm like, okay, I like Angel of Foresight, and I'm getting it to work okay. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I like Paradigm Shift. I'm getting that to work okay. And then suddenly I thought like Paradigm Shift, Charge Colossus, Daughter of Stars. That's the combo. And oh my god, it works. It's beautiful. So, and the early game of this deck is really good too. You have the Morphologies that'll generate card draw. You have Arcane Focus, Thunderfield Seer, and Spectral Acorns all generating card draw. And then you have Holiday that'll just keep drawing herself until you run out of them. So really, it's just the last few cards in your deck that you need to find. And once you have a Paradigm Shift on turn 3 or 4, and you're playing a Charge Colossus or Star 2 or Reaper Bot, right as soon as they replay that card, which the AI always will do, as long as you target the right card, you're winning on turn 4, maybe turn 5, maybe turn 6, but it's quick. It's really quick.
Yeah, it is really quick. One key note on Morphology: remember to do it before your opponents, during their opponents. Well, not even their end step. You wanted to do it during their first phase.
Because first or second phase, just as long as they haven't gone to their end step yet.
Yeah.
So you make sure you get that card draw on their turn.
All right, so all of you guys, Frost Ring Arena, I wouldn't say it's super fast, but it is fun to play, and I don't think I've lost a game with it yet. Moving on to the new puzzle for all of you guys out there, the board state, it looks as though that this is, this is going to be a PvE puzzle. Why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Sure. So for this particular puzzle, I'm just catching up on stream right now. We're looking at an interesting board state. So the enemy has a Mind Pyre in play, and the board state for you is you have a Blessing in your hand that says gain 2 health, draw a card, and create a Genesis leaf and put it into play. You can see your thresholds there. You have a Wild threshold, the Sapphire threshold, and 2 Ruby thresholds. And then the cards in your deck are a Ragefire and a Thunderfield Elder. Also in play for you is an Enter the Dream and a Genesis Leaf. Shows you what the Genesis Leaf is. So The puzzle is how much damage can you inflict to the enemy this turn? Enter the Dream will always put cards at the bottom of the deck for this puzzle. Does your solution work if it does not? The player's life total is 15. That's your life. It doesn't state what the enemy's life is. The trick of this puzzle is sequencing. So you're going to have to find out the sequencing. I actually, Eula and I talked about this for a while. I need to check back in with him because the sequencing is kind of difficult on this puzzle. I came up with two different answers when we first checked in on this. So he changed the life total a bit to make it a little bit more challenging, and also the blessing. So I think this one could be a little bit of a challenging puzzle, but as long as you like sit down and work out the sequencing, you should be able to get it. And we're still giving out pretty nice grand prize rewards, so I think it's worth the time. This is a puzzle, and next week we will feature a new puzzle and a different creator.
All right. Well, from all of us here at Cornerstone, I think that pretty much wraps it up. We've been going long on all of our casts these past couple of weeks just because there's been so much to go over. But hopefully, you guys are still enjoying it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and see you guys next time.
See you.